What does a tour manager do?
What does he do? Pretty much everything.
I was wrong about God. Turns out he likes that 70s stuff after all. So it didn't piss down, and they played 4 encores.
Let me tell you what it's like to manage a rock band. We're driving all over, hell and creation. City to city, roadies and crew, the whole nine. And not one person, not one, ever asks how we're always stocked up on gas.
I do not, for one, think that the problem was that the band was down. I think that the problem may have been that there was a Stonehenge monument on the stage that was in danger of being crushed.
Your brain drive you insane. Don't talk. Don't let them inside your brain.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to It's Only Talk and Roll, the show where we banish the negative vibes and we just talk about the things that we love, and in particular, classic rock. We aim to keep that flame of rock alive. Hello to everybody out there on YouTube. I see a lot of you in the chat already. Hope you enjoyed the montage. A little selection of acts that our esteemed guest today has worked with, but certainly not by any means all of them. Hello to everybody on Rumble. We are over in Rumble too. A lot of people we're certainly looking at. Nobody's chatting over there yet, but if you do, I will do my best to copy and paste those into the stream here. But thank you for being here, everybody. And if you can lend a hand by clicking the like button and sharing the link out and all that good stuff, that would be awesome. And to the mods, D-Bud Martin and Canadian Spider-Man and Darius Münchausen, hopefully you'll be joining us, Darius, of course, on the panel. Thank you in advance for all your efforts. We really appreciate it. So let me figure out how to get my ugly mug off the screen. Oh, there we go. That's better. Thank God for that. I would like, so over the next few weeks, both here and on the Morning Coffee with Brian Show and Pop Culture Minefield, we will be having some fascinating discussions with all the members of a bunch of guys called the Rock and Roll Rowdies. And it is my particular pleasure to welcome today someone who we did a fantastic show with on Tuesday on Pop Culture Minefield. So this is round 2. Please welcome to the show Mr. Derek Wilko Wilkinson. How are you, sir?
I'm on top of the world, my son. Everything's good, apart from my back.
You're looking good, and I can hear birdsong in the background.
Yeah, I decided to go outside today because in Los...
We've just...
And the internet...
the internet.
There he is.
The internet defeats us, so you're back. We have lost your audio for now, sir. I hate to tell you, welcome it. We did lose your audio there when you dropped out. You briefly dropped out. You may want to refresh and come back into the stream if it doesn't come back. My apologies for that, sir. speak to us, and we may. What I'm going to do, my friend, is just I'm going to remove you from the stream and bring you back in. So we'll see the technical problems. See, YouTube doesn't want us to
That
do
happens a
this
lot
for-
whenever you're using your phone and somebody calls you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll try that again. Can we hear you, Derek? No, none of this. We can't hear you, mate, at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick you out, and if you rejoin using the link and get back in, we will we'll try that again. So I'm going to kick you for now. Well, there you go. The first technical problem of the day. Just as the poor gentleman was about to speak.
Right. He's about to get into it. And
Sentient Dildo, there is no boomerang here. That's nothing to do with boomerang. We've got a pretty tight setup here, I have to say.
I can almost guarantee somebody tried to call him. I mean, that's happened to my brother before when he uses his phone.
Yes. Says the wonderful Davina says, audio problems to keep a roadie sharp. Indeed.
Yes, they do.
But yeah, we're always boomerang. We will always come back to base if we're boomerang, so it should work again. But yeah, while I'm waiting for Wilko to join us again, we will just flip through the chat and say hello to a few people. Thank you all for being here. So Courtney hopefully will be joining us soon, but hello to you. Davina mentioning the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus, the show that was so good you couldn't see it for 35 years. Wilko's back, I believe. Hello, sir.
Yes, there he is.
Yeah. I think sometimes what happens is if you get a call or a notification, it screws up your phone. So
Now the volume's not good. Can you turn the volume up?
the volume is up.
Got it.
We have got it up here too, so hopefully we'll be good. I was just saying hello to a few people in the chat while we were waiting. So the lovely Davina is here. Canadian Spider-Man, our great friend. Awesome to see you. Again, the great D. Bud Martin, who's doing some wonderful modding for us. Thank you, sir. Our buddy from Ottawa, Christian Delorme. Big fan of Foreigner, by the way.
Yes, the greatest rock band in history.
Joe and Christian and I are doing a Foreigner special soon. And I know you've had a lot of work with them, Wilko, so that's good to know.
We God, I forget the years, but it was sometime in the 90s. When I was with the Average White Band in 75 with Atlantic Records, I used to bump into all the band members of Foreigner in and out of the Rockefeller, and used to say hi and, wave at each other and all that. And we did the Atlantic 40-year special.
Oh.
That was in Madison Square Garden.
So
had
you
a good
did that.
chat with. Yeah, go on.
You did that one. You were at that.
Oh yeah.
Working for Foreigner on that show, or just generally?
No, I
setting up
was
for Atlantic?
beating the shit out of the Average White Band. AWB was split up, and I had the one band members here, the band members here. Then Keith Kevin came up to me, and he goes, "Wilkie, are they playing? Because if they're not, I'm pulling the plug in 5 minutes." So I just walked in. I went, "Guys, you just had Keith Kevin." So they went on, and that was probably the last time they actually played together. So I bumped into the lads, kept bumping into Lou and all that stuff. And then I got a call in the early 90s, 93 or something, and said, Bud Prager wants to talk to you as the manager of Foreigner. So I'd met Bud before, and I went down. He goes, "Hi, Wilkie. Well, the studio's downstairs. Go and see the band. If they say you're in, you're in." So, of course, all the band members were like, "Hey, Wilkie, so what are you doing here? Are you helping with rehearsals?" I was like, "No, trying to get a job as your tour manager." I was like, "As far as we're concerned, you got it, So it was all word to mouth back then. There was no cell phones, there was none of that shit going on.
Was that like the 93, 94 European tour? Or
Yeah.
Because I was at one of those gigs in
Oh, you
Glasgow.
were?
I was at the Glasgow gig. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I remember seeing you just hovering backstage. No, I don't.
Well, yeah, that's my dressing room, I get them on stage, and then that's basically it, unless I'm going to go and punch somebody out,
Yeah.
I actually bartended one of their shows in '91 when they were coming out with the Greatest Hits CD.
Okay.
They played a few club dates around the country, and the guy that owned our place, it held like 1,000 people, but I guarantee you there was 1,500 in there that night. It was crazy. It was a great show.
No,
Yeah.
listen, Foreigner were just absolutely brilliant. All the band members. I was with Mick, Lou, Will, Dave, all the originals, and they were fantastic. I mean, I did all of the European open air concerts, and we were playing between 50 and 70,000 people.
Wow.
You know, there's like 5 or 6 bands on, and it was just fantastic, you know. And then I moved on with Lou after the tour finished because that's when Mick started getting these head problems and stuff.
Oh, he had a lot of health issues.
Yeah.
Poor bugger. But
Yeah.
I certainly saw that tour, and was that? Did you do a Far Eastern tour with them then too, or was that?
Yeah, we went to Japan.
Yeah.
Wow. Went over to Tokyo. I think we did like 5 shows in Tokyo, Osaka, the Nagoya, the usual, you know. And then we were supposed to do a big American tour. And all you roadies and tour managers out there, never turn bands down until you know it's happening. So one day we had a meeting, and I was supposed to go on to John Denver. And they were like, no, we want you to definitely do the American tour. Well, guess what? I canceled the next day. Foreigner went, Mick's too sick, we can't do it.
No, you're out of a
Wow.
gig then.
So I called John Denver. He's like, I think I'm going to have my brother do it. I went, okay.
Oh,
man.
That works.
You called John Denver and he said, I'll fly you out here. No.
Oh, yeah, no, it was me and him and his Learjet. Because the average white band, funny enough, they used to rent John Denver's Learjet in the 70s.
All right, yeah.
So that was the thing of that.
It's a real neat taste of what we've got to come in the rest of the show, Wilko. I just want you to say hello before we go back to some of your early days, which we're going to cover. I know we covered some of it on Tuesday, but different audience here, so we want to do a little bit more of that. Hello to Joe. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, brother.
Great.
Fantastic.
Pope, how are you, sir?
Great, man. Glad to be here.
Good. Thank you for having me on your Guns N' Roses stream yesterday. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good. It was a good time. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, Dustin, my friend, how are you doing?
Super stoked to be here. Glad to talk to you again, Wilko.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Good to see all of you. It's like you mentioned Guns N' Roses, so that's all back to the original, right? Because Tommy Stinson, when I was with the Replacements, he went in there, and then the drummer, bloody hell, Freeze. What's his friggin' name? Freeze. He's a great drummer, excellent drummer.
Josh Freeze?
Josh Freeze, yeah. Josh Freeze took over the drumming, and Tommy Stinson from the Replacements was a bass. And I used to work for both of them, you know.
I love the Replacements. Paul Westerberg and the Replacements. Seen them live. Brilliant band.
Got some great stories.
Not such a big stage set, though. They're more of just a back line and a bare floor kind of band.
Yeah, you know, we talked about that Tuesday. It's the same thing with the average white band. I mean, there was no production. You know, there was a couple of genies and about 10 lights on each genie, and it's like, then I went from that to the Allman Brothers, and they were doing 20,000 seaters, but the Allman Brothers at that time in the 70s still didn't have a huge lighting system. You know, it was basic.
Yeah.
So I never really got into all that big light stuff. I used to have to go to different gigs and look at lights and go, oh, so that's what's happening in the light world, you know.
Well, yeah, and we're definitely going to get into that, the progression of your career, but which kind of mirrors the progression of the rock industry as well, and touring from the old days, which I know you didn't particularly do the transit van thing, but like just a truck and some gear up to mega tours, with massive stage sets and bands that maybe got too ambitious. You know, you've seen a lot of that.
Well, you know, we talked about it last week. The 70s, I started in 1970. My first tour was 72, which was Vinegar Joe doing the Scandinavian thing with Elkie Brooks and Robert Palmer and the rest of the guys. And yet again, it was like there was no production. I mean, all the production was going out to Led Zeppelin, The Who, the Rolling Stones, Deep Purple, the Black Sabbath. I mean, but everybody was borrowing from each other. And that's how it all started. I mean, it's like,
gear.
Yeah, there was no, I mean, Tasco was one of the biggest audio lighting companies in England at the time, Joe Brown, etc. And there was really no big production companies. We all worked together. That's what's so good about it. I mean, my career started off loading and unloading trucks, I mean, that's what it was about. I mean, when the promoters didn't hire a bunch of guys back then because it all came out of the budget. And if they did, the guys who would help us in would come out, do the out, and they'd be drunk. And we're like, we don't want this shit around us, all these drugs dropping gear. So we started helping each other out, If I knew Zeppelin was doing something, I'd go and help them. And I think I told you last Tuesday, I did 3 gigs at the Hammersmith Odeon with Wings.
Man,
which
wow.
is the stuff that's between the lines on your resume, which is impressive as it is. It's when you start talking, there's stuff between the lines there, bands that you've worked with that are 3 shows here, 3 shows there that you don't put on a resume, but that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, Linda was on stage, and it was like, I'm looking at him going, fucking hell, man, I'm looking at the Wings. Look at that. Because I never got that way. I was just
Wilko,
I'm here to do a gig,
I heard that Paul McCartney was in a band before Wings once. I don't know. I don't believe it, but
a small band.
Before,
was it the Ruddles?
It was the Ruddles. That was it. So this is the gold dust, mate, and it's great to talk to you about this. But I did want to talk a little bit about the rock and roll rowdies that you and Mal and Granny and was it Martin, the other guy?
Mark Emery.
Mark have created. So who are the rock and roll rowdies, and what is it you guys are trying to do coming up in the future?
Well, we have something to say. We're a big part of the 70s. And if we hadn't been doing what we were doing, there would be no shows going on. And I've still got like 20 guys from that era. I just talked to Tex yesterday, and he was with Deep Purple. Well, I think he worked with Willie Fife at the time. Willie Fife worked with Ronnie James Dio for years. And him and I did the last tour of Ronnie James. So there's all these roadies that work together who had a big part in the history of rock and roll. I mean, as I said, just from unloading and loading, we all knew what to do. And I told you last Tuesday, there was, we go to the Speakeasy Club where there's just rock and rollers and also roadies. That's all was there. So
we're definitely going to talk about that. I've got a few photographs and we want to go through that kind of history. But you guys are planning to do some big stuff in the future. You're trying to get a tour and a show together.
Well, as of now, we're looking at this fall of doing a tour in England.
Yeah,
as like a stand-up thing and explain the things. Mark has been trying to promote us, and we got a guy in Scotland that wants to do some shows. We got Hartlepool, our hometown, Hull. Torquay, we're going to do about 10 to 15 shows, maybe. But when we go out there in April, we're going to start putting that show together to go on tour as Rock and Roll Rowdies about our stories.
Yeah.
But also, we are going to Greece in May with Peter Nikos, who's Greek, and he's going to try to do a TV show.
Yeah,
so
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Well, I've always seen it as a TV, something like Entourage, the Rock and Roll of Entourage, and also something like what the hell? I've got the 70s thing going today, but it'll come to me. But I just really see it as a TV show, people, and do some funny stuff with it,
Yeah.
Is it going to be scripted, or is it going to be like reality?
Semi-improvisational reality.
It could be a reality show that we have a big house and shooting with the young guys in Greece. It could be scripted with our stories going into a scripted TV show about the 70s. I don't know if you know this, but Hollywood really messed things up with a TV show called Rowdies, which was absolute shite.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was terrible. And then, unfortunately, Scorsese and Mick Jagger with Vinyl. I mean, that to me was going nowhere. I had no clue what that was about. And then Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, which was pathetic from Fox. So the Hollywood Shuffle is like another rock and roll thing. They don't
Was that the Dennis Leary one you're talking about?
Dennis Leary. He was doing interviews, and his thing was, well, I know Bruce Springsteen. I hang out with him, and I know Mick Jagger. I know what goes on. No, you fucking don't, you dipshit. You live it. You had no idea about rock and roll just because you told him to Bruce and to Mick Jagger. I mean, come on, get a fucking life.
So the main thing is that you guys are certainly trying to get this together, and I really, really, really hope you do, because the wealth of stories is incredible. I mean, we talk about classic rock. This is classic rock road and tour management history, and it's intertwined with the history of rock itself. I want to see it.
Well,
I'm gonna email my father about it. They call him the music man in the Virginia area. He used to own a record store, and he would love to watch you guys for sure. I'm gonna send it to him.
Joe wouldn't love to see you, just his father.
Oh no, look, I dig it too, but not as much as my dad. My dad, look, growing up in the house, we had 800 albums in the living room that was just 70s rock and roll, and then we had another 800 in the closet in boxes that were
Bruce trying to say that he has stuff in the closet is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, he's in the closet.
I mean, you got to figure that you guys not only shaped touring but shaped rock and roll as us fans know it. I mean, you brought them from city to city, town to town, and delivered them. You know, without you, we wouldn't have had those experiences. So you have our support, at least my support, 1,000% for a TV show.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're putting together. I mean, we thought about by May, we didn't know where this is going. I mean, I'm going to probably bring in another 10 roadies eventually. Because, Willie Fife, what I did deal with. I mean, the story we did on that tour, which was just effing brilliant, about Willie turning around to the fan club woman that was on our tour bus, and we left Cardiff at 4 a.m. Because Ronnie James Dio, God bless him, he would not leave until he spoke to all of his fans, Yeah,
he just stayed and stayed.
Oh, he stayed. That's what bought his albums. And he was really positive. It was fantastic to see, Meanwhile, Willie and I going,
we've got to get to the next city.
Right, we got to go, But it was really funny because the girl, she got thrown on the tour bus, and Willie goes, "You got your passport?" And we're coming from Scotland to Cardiff. That's what it was. And she goes, "Oh, you don't need a passport." Yes, you do. And we just we had the tour driver pull the tour bus over. Willie got off the front of the bus, came round, and we opened the side, and she toilet. And he's banging on the door. And what's in here? I went, "Oh, it's full of luggage." And let me see it. I'm like, "No, you can't see our luggage." Hey, a rock and roll band, and played this whole game with it. We were eating pillows, laughing so much. It was just, and it wasn't nice because Wendy Dio is a beautiful lady. And when we all sat there after the fact, we all looked at each other and went, "She's going to kill us. She's going to really give us a fucking hiding for doing this to one of her staff,
He may not have needed a passport, but he might have needed different money.
Yeah, it's funny as shit.
Scottish banknotes are very different.
Yeah, but that's what we did. We had laughs. That we made everybody have a good time, because to me that was part of the gig, and that's why we called it Rock and Roll Rowdies. We were known in the day of group, and that's how we found each other. When you're in a gig with 60 people, 150 people, 1,500 people, we had our own mating call, and that's where, okay, he's over there,
Yeah.
That's how we kept tags on everybody,
So I just wanted to show a little bit of stuff that you've sent me, and this is the before and after. This is what rock and roll does to you. This should have a parental guidance warning on it.
Yeah, look at my girl's blouse I'm wearing.
That's right. So, from the 60s
I
to
probably
70s.
took that off a fucking clothesline in Spain somewhere. That was in
So that's in the middle, and you were what, one of 9 kids or something?
Yeah, well, I'm the third oldest of 9.
Oh wow! I mean that you had to fight for survival in that household.
I know,
Fight
you
for-
know, I had a great upbringing. I mean, I went home last year, the first time in 10 years, and it's just beautiful. It's fantastic. Looking forward to going back. I'm going back for 6 months in April
Yeah.
to work more on this podcast, the production of the show.
Yeah.
And also, as I said, I think I was doing a college tour. I did a movie called Super Troopers. I don't know if you
Oh God!
You were in
I was
that
the
movie.
tour manager. Yeah, exactly. I was the tour manager.
See, that's not on your resume. That should be
Yeah,
on your resume.
maybe
my
I didn't
God.
put it
So
on there,
that's the
but
blind lizard guys. Blind
yeah,
lizard.
broken, and they were fantastic.
Broken lizard. Sorry, broken lizard. Yeah.
Yeah, Broken Lizard, and that's all we did was tours, you know, and
Yeah.
we went all around. It was Q&A, questions and answers, but we were doing colleges of about 3,000 to 7,000 people, and it made sense, you know, because that's what we did, and that's what we're trying to do with Rock and Roll Rowdies, and hopefully have more input once it starts kicking in within 2 months, you know.
But
We
you've
do
been
have we do have 53 episodes, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's not bad.
No.
It's just
no,
the beginning.
Yeah, we haven't even scratched the surface. I mean, we did the first 5 years until I came to the States. And Jesus Christ, when I got to the States in 75, I mean, look out for Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. It was fucking mental. You know, it was absolute. Living in New York City in 1975 and walking into Atlantic Studios, and I'm talking Eddie Pendergrass, Donny Hathaway, Aretha Franklin, the Bee Gees, Mick Jagger, you know, Luther Vandross, and that was 7 days a week. That's all they kept saying to me. What are you playing? I'm going, no, I'm the roadie. When are the band coming in? I'm like, oh, they'll be in about any time, you know.
You were still working for Average White Band at that time, though, mainly. Yeah.
Oh, no, I just arrived. I
you just
arrived in
arrived,
75, and it's like, you know, I think I mentioned on one of my podcasts, I mean, 48 years ago, last month, we were number 1. Pick Up the Pieces album and single. You know, and we didn't know. We were in Southampton, Long Island, recording Cut the Cake. You know, and all the phones were down, and it was the worst winter in 50 years or something. So I drove back to Atlantic Studios with Jack Cunningham to get the goodies and also to get more equipment, and went in the studio. They're like, where have you been? I'm like, we ain't supposed to tell anybody. We're in Ahmet Erdogan's house in Southampton, Long Island, you know. And we're like, wow, what's the big deal? Well, you're number 1. We're trying to find you. And I was like, what? I'm like, yeah, your number 1 single, number 1 album of 2 days ago.
So that would be, Cut the Cake. Hang on.
Yeah, February 15th, 18th, around about
So
that.
Average White Band, Cut the Cake. Yeah, and a good Scottish band, I have to say.
Yeah, but that was number 1 with Pick Up the Pieces, and the album and the single. Cut the Cake came after that.
Yeah, how did you fall in with those guys then? I mean, what was the first connection you had with them?
We used to live in Kensington, Olympia, which was like the Forum. They used to put all these rock concerts on, but all of these different corporation things, you know. And right across it was the Hand and Flower, and that was our hangout with Mal and Granny and Dave Usher, the band Armada. And, you know, and that's what I used to drink. And next thing I know, Mal's going, you know, that's Robbie McIntosh. And I was like, who the fuck is Robbie McIntosh? Oh, he's with the Average White Band.
Right
I didn't
there,
even know.
yeah.
I had no idea who the Average White Band was. And then I was just a piss artist, you know. You know, it was, so we started drinking together.
Yeah.
And then I really started working with him in 73, early 73, 74. And then I came out to the States in 75.
Don't you think then that what you're saying is that drinking is a good career choice?
It wasn't until I got fired from Ellis, driving the car in the fucking trucks all night long.
Well, I definitely want to talk more about the Average White Band and play a couple of clips, but I want to go back, way back So you started in Hartlepool. You're born in Hartlepool, and that's where you grew up, and you knew Alan and Mal.
Right.
They are, yeah. So nice little town near County. It's in County Durham.
It's County Durham, but those wankers lived in Westview. I was the fighter. I was the. I was with the Bellevue boys.
Were you in the council house estate?
No, I wasn't actually.
Yeah.
It was like I was in a little upstairs, downstairs in Wagga.
All right.
Is like the steelworks. And I remember when I was about 10 or 12, and my mum gave me the pram full of shit. I should go up to Wensleydale Street, your new apartment. You can't miss it. The apartment's above a butcher shop.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where we moved into. So we went from Wagga, which was as tough as shit, into Bellevue, which was even worse.
All right. Yeah, you were in the rough end of town then.
Yeah, I was in totally the rough end.
But these scenes of Hartlepool, I mean, I have to say, it reminds me very much of my childhood because that's what everything looked like.
Yeah,
it was all in black and white, and those were the same
black
cars.
and white and grey.
And the national gas station there, my dad owned one of those, and where I lived up in Edinburgh. So those are like Ford Cortina at the front there, but that's kind of the same upbringing I had, and in cinemas like this where there was bands playing. I don't think you saw any bands there.
No, that was actually torn down way before my time. I mean, I basically I went to the racetracks every weekend. I went to the dog racing, which was next to that.
Yeah,
I used to hang out with all the bad bastards.
You noticed the wood paneled Morris Traveller outside there.
Love it.
Quite common. Yeah, they were quite common. But this is the kind of places bands played in then as well. You'd have cinemas, but they'd have a band and then package tours in the 60s. I'm not sure you ever. I mean, you were into music like we all were, just kind of watching on TV though, or?
Well, we had what you call the rink. We had the rink right next to Hartlepool United football ground.
Yeah.
So I started going there when I was about 12, 13. I saw Manfred Mann there.
Oh, wow.
I saw the Tremolos there. And who the hell did I? Oh, Manfred Mann, the Trems. And I saw somebody else there, but it was, yet again, I was walking around with a gang of guys beating people up. I was looking at the music going, oh, it's okay, it's fine. Not thinking that all these bands needed roadies and people to help them do things. It just never occurred to me. It just, I mean, I sang along with all the songs with Top of the Pops. Obviously, I was a huge Beatle fan.
Mm-hmm.
Paul McCartney's band before Wings, that's right.
Yeah, that small one.
Small band. I just wanted to pause briefly to welcome Courtney to the show. Hello,
hey
Courtney.
guys.
Hi, Courtney. How are you, honey?
I'm doing very well. Hi, Wilko. Nice to meet you. I know I met you before briefly, but
Courtney
I'm doing from my phone, so we're not gonna have any issues now.
Okay.
Courtney,
you did last time.
Courtney herself is a musician, been in many bands, and she likes a lot of the bands like. I mean, she'll certainly be a big fan of the Replacements, like I am. But and bands like
I
that.
like the Replacements.
Yeah, so she's got a lot of. She's steeped in knowledge.
Well, I'm going to give you a great story. And this is the introduction of me meeting the Replacements. So I just finished with Foreigner. I believe it was Foreigner. I had an Armani suit on, nice pair of loafers, and we had to meet up in LAX. So I picked the van up. I never knew any of the music or anything. So we walked by each other, and the band stopped, and they were all in polyester suits. And I turned around and I went, "Are you the band?" And they went, "Are you the fucking tour manager?" I went, "Yeah." So they looked at each other, and Tommy got this tin of orange spray out, and my suit was brown. So he started painting brown stripes on my suit. and like, I didn't.
That's amazing.
Like, okay, whatever, you know. And then he spray painted my shoes orange, right? So I went, okay, so it's going to be one of those tours. I can roll with this shit, you know. So we get in this little van and we get in there, and in between, Paul always had to sit in front. So Paul's sitting in the passenger seat, and he goes, "Well, I guess the management told you not to get us any alcohol." I went, "Yeah, they did." They went, so what did you do? I said, well, I only got you a case of beer and a half a bottle of whiskey to see how we go. And they were all like, oh, cool. That's cool. So we drove in rush hour all the way down to Rancho Cucamonga. And Paul continued on back combing my hair. So the time I got there, I looked like I was part of the replacements. And we obviously we drove in rush hour going south on 405. So we're an hour and a half late. All of Warner Brothers was there. They were screaming, where the fuck is Wilko? Who's in charge of this lot? And I went, I am. And they like, looked at me and went, oh my God, are you kidding me? And I toured with those guys for 9 months. It was the longest tour they ever did. And believe me, the tour continued to go on just like that.
It's like herding cats.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Replacements and Paul Westerberg. I've seen Paul Westerberg live once. He's awesome. But so that must have been and is it? I mean, was that a very different experience from, let's say, tour managing for a old style classic rock act from the 70s, or was it really? Is it really all the same no matter the genre of the band?
It's how you and the band get on. First of all, I mean, if it's not working, it's not working. And we just hit it off. As I said, you get told by certain people like agencies and managers, as I said, don't do this to them, don't do this. And I'm like, fuck you guys, I'm going to work this out myself. And if it's a no to the alcohol, then that's a no to the alcohol. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing with my attitude is I'm not going to take shit from nobody.
No. Is your loyalty to the band, or is it to the promoter, or is it who? I mean, do you really just side with the band?
Yeah, I mean, most of the managers, like Bud Prager, I knew, and I wouldn't step on his feet at all. Oh, there's no point because you're in a different scenario. The Replacements refused to sell T-shirts. I mean, there was like they didn't believe in all of that. That's why they went into the record label and got all of the masters and threw them in the river in Minnesota. So nobody could rip them off. I mean, that's how they were. And I kind of agreed to that, setting them up, because the Average White Band and most of the bands back in those days, who made the money? The fucking record label.
Yeah.
Touring was on because that's where the bands made their major, like the Beatles. They probably made all their money with all that touring they did.
It's the same today now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's back to having to play live to make money, because you make bugger all money selling records.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, back to the Replacements, they were so upset in Chicago and I'd been telling them for like 6 months by then, because the tour was rolling down to the stop. And I said, Paul, this law-wise, and there was a cop stood right next to me. I went, officer, will you explain to Paul, who's with the band, who writes all the songs and everything, what you can and can't do? And he goes, I can't arrest anybody who's selling your swag. If you had a T-shirt company on the road, then it's all legal, and I can go outside and take everything off.
You don't have one, yeah.
And that's what happened with Meatloaf. When I was with Meatloaf, he did, I don't know, 10 million in the box office, but he did 12 million on T-shirts. I brought home.
Yeah. Oh, they were all extra large as well. No.
No. You know what happened with all that shit? Got burned up in my fucking farm in Connecticut.
Well, yeah, and we definitely want to talk about that, because you had a collection of stuff that you lost a lot of at some point.
A lot of stuff got lost. I mean, I emptied the Average White Band's office in New York. Dave Mintz at the time put it all on his deck, so it was getting all ruined. So I took everything, put it in flight cases, took it to the farm in Connecticut. I'd left, I was on tour, then I left, and unfortunately we got divorced, and then the barn fell down. And of course, the fire brigade came and they said, look, it's halfway on the road, etc. They're not thinking, they just burnt the whole thing down, which was full of tour jackets and T-shirts and cases, and they all burnt up.
Man.
What a shame, yeah. Sad loss.
All that memorabilia gone. Oh.
Well, I was Shoko. You remember Shoko, guys? They're still around.
No.
Shoko was the biggest audio sound lighting company from Texas. And they had this map of Texas with all stars around it. Phil Collins, Allman Brothers, Average White Band. Every band that they did was in there. They're all from the 70s. They're going for $1,000, $1,500.
Oh,
You know?
you had them, yeah.
Well, I had them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to check in with the chat. Lots of chatting going on. Zach's good to see you, buddy. Lord Thoth, welcome to the show. Keep your chatting going. Keep liking and sharing and all that good stuff. If you get any questions for Wilko, throw them in the chat. We'll try and catch up with those. I wanted to talk about, so you had your early days in Hartlepool, but at some point you decided to go down to London, the big smoke, as we used to call it. When was that? I mean, what was your
Well,
thinking around
69, I met Mal and Granny.
Yeah.
The band called Engine, which was from Hartlepool. And I was like, that was my first intro to it. I'm backstage going, wow, I'm carrying a fucking drum kit in with these guys. This is fucking cool, you know? So they were like, hey, we're going down to London. We're going to be in Kensington Olympia. And about 2 weeks before that, my good friend Joe Butler, he was like, we're going to Holloway. And basically, I had to get out of Hartlepool. The bobbies were on my feet, if you know what I mean. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I moved down January of 1970.
Yeah.
Mal and Granny were already there, and I was a working class hero. I was doing a regular job at the time, you know.
Yeah, I mean, were you hanging about in like the King's Road and
Hammersmith
and all that?
So what happened was on weekends, I would leave all my buddies and go into Kensington High Street, which was the famous Kensington High Street Market, Beavers. I mean, all of that area was just full. And I would love sitting there by myself, just people watching, you know. On weekends, we'd go down to Piccadilly. You couldn't move. Drag some more boilers back to the apartment, have a party.
Boilers, that's a great term.
Yeah, get some 2 legs over easy, you know, and just wait for it. You know, it's what you did 18 years ago.
And it was still, I guess, 1970, 71, it was still kind of the end of the swinging 60s. A lot of dolly birds, that dress, the 60s dress, way they dress was still around. There'd be a lot of hippies hanging out and a lot of bands and musicians floating around.
We had the best of everything. I mean, you know, and in 70, I would say 70, late 71, 72 is when we started going more down the West End and going to the Marquee Club. And started hanging out with Mitch Mitchell, hanging out with Phil Lynott, and sitting down with Robert Plant and talking to different musicians and just being part of it. And that's when I think 72 for me, it's when I really realized, hey, I'm doing this. I'm in the business, you know. And
yeah. And you were hanging about here in the Speakeasy Club.
Well, the Speakeasy was open in the 60s for movie stars and all that stuff. And then I think 64 onwards is all the bands took it over. There was just bands and Rowdies. And I mentioned last week, I could pull up in my truck and I could tell whose trucks were outside. And I'll go, oh, Zeppelins, and I don't want to work with them for the week. I've got 2 days off. But we always worked with other people. If Granny was with Van de Graaff Generator, I'd have a day off. I'd go and help him with Van de Graaff.
Yeah.
He would come to me. So just so all you know, in 1972, I did my first Scandinavian tour, as I said, with Vinegar Joe. But then when I came back from that, I got a call. I was running a trucking company, and I got asked to speak to Roger. Spoke to Roger, gave my directions to go to his estate in Surrey or Sussex, wherever it was, and pick up some equipment for Steve. So
for Steve, but it was a guy called Roger you were talking to.
Yeah, so when I got down there, I got lost. So you always go to a pub when you get lost, you know. And the guy goes, oh, yeah, Roger lives down there. And when we got onto his property, it was Roger Daltrey. And he's like, "Where you been, man?" I'm going, "We been to the fucking pub, Rog. How you doing?" like I've known him for 20 years, right? So we go to Steve, and Steve was Steve Ellis from Love Affair. Everlasting Love.
Big hit, yeah, huge hit.
He was a good guy. So on Monday when I dropped his furniture off, I was like, "Hey, Steve, you looking for any roadies?" He goes, "I'm looking for 3.
And that's how you got jobs, yeah.
That Granny started first, and I took it as over as supposedly tour manager, but I was fucking useless. I was just driving around in circles. But I got the job done. In fact, the first gig we did was at King's Cross. And I picked everybody up in London. If you ever been to London, I was driving all over the effing place.
Spread out, yeah.
To pick everybody up. And I got there and Granny, you're not in half an hour. You got the guitars? Oh, I left them at home. So it's like, back in the car, I made it in 20 minutes. Like, "Hey, can you make me a cup of tea?" I was like, "Yeah, it's okay. I just get the guitars from the car, you know."
So Sentient Dildo does have a question for you. Wilko, did young 70s come to the shows dressed in his school uniform? So was I at the shows in my school uniform? I'm not sure you would remember that.
No, I wouldn't. If I saw you, I'd be afraid of I'd be like, actually, I'd be nutting you, then throwing you out.
Yeah. What the fuck are you doing here? You're too young.
Who the fuck let you in, Jimmy?
I didn't go to my first gig until 1977, so I suspect
Oh,
it was
okay,
probably...
I was gone.
So, there's the Speakeasy Club that you hung out in a lot and met all these great people. Like, bands played there too. Like, Deep Purple played their first show there. Thin Lizzy played a show there. And we've got some stuff about Phil Lynott and whatever later, but you mentioned that Vinegar Joe. I guess, would you say that was your first real kind of tour manager type gig, other than incidental stuff? Or?
Oh, no. The Vinegar Joe, the Rowdies were... tour manager didn't come out as quickly as then 72. Dave Hickey and Pete Rutter were the 2 main Rowdies. And yet again, they needed a third hand to help do all the unload and load the trucks, and that's what I did. I didn't start tour management till late 75 with the Average White Band.
Right. So that
all my stuff was nitty gritty on the road, doing everything.
Doing a lot of driving.
Did you ever do like setting up of the green room and stuff like that?
Nah, didn't have time for that shit.
See that? Yeah, that's the crap I did for a while as a hospitality girl.
Where did you do that?
Rooms.
Where
I just did it in a ski town in Colorado called Steamboat Springs, and they have an outdoor like free concert series all summer long. So I would pick the bands up from the airport, make sure their food shopping was done, set up the green room, and hang out with them. Be pleasant,
we call that a runner.
A runner. I like hospitality girl better.
When we do the box office, we always like, why you got 4 runners? Oh, we got things to do. It's like, hang on, stop the bullshit. How much you paying 4 runners for? So, why am I paying for 14 drum risers? All that shit is 70s.
I got paid better than some of the stage people were setting up in town, and they would get so jealous of me because they're like, all you're doing is food shopping. I'm like, I'm a girl. Sorry about your luck.
So you're calling you a hospitality technician now.
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So you're saying, Wilko, that people were trying to expense 14 drum risers for one drummer?
Yeah, I did it all the time. And then they say, well, it's just for the tax man. It's like, pay me, then you worry about the fucking tax man, because I ain't paying up the tax man. You pick up on things like that. I remember Granny saying to me years and years ago, he's like, why do you want to do the box office all the time? It's like, because it's 2 jobs. There's basically tour manager, production manager, tour accountant. So when I was with the Allman brothers, I was tour accountant. When I was with Linda Ronstadt, I was tour accountant. So it's all I did was the money.
Linda Ronstadt? Wow.
See, Joe would like to have been Linda Ronstadt's dresser.
Come on, bro.
She was a smoke show back in the day. She's still hot.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so Vinegar Joe though in '72, you did a Scandinavian tour with him, and everybody will notice a rather young Robert Palmer in there.
Yeah.
And
Robert,
Elkie Brooks, one of my first crushes.
yeah. Me too. I liked her. Like, she was funny. Funny stuff.
Yeah,
She
Elkie
was married
Brooks is
to Peter.
gorgeous.
There they are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, she's beautiful.
yeah.
Vinegar Joe, I've got the Rock and Roll Gypsies album here. Vinegar
So
Joe.
you know, what
Yes.
about stories? I turned up in a t-shirt, 3 t-shirts, 2 pairs of denim jacket, no gloves, just going into fucking Sweden in January. So, you know, I remember in Norway, my hands were stuck on the metal cases, and I was saying, "Solly," he's like, "What?" I said, "Piss on my hands to get my hand off this fucking case for fuck."
Oh Jesus! It's Dumb
I
and
mean, I
Dumber
was
territory.
literally stuck to fucking cases. It was funny as shit.
Oh, nightmare! Yeah, I mean,
I
that's,
can't tell you how many times that happened. Like in Steamboat Springs, it's really cold there. People would
Yeah.
show up in their leather jacket with like a t-shirt and jeans, and it's like, no, you're
it's
gonna.
because Frostbite is so rock and roll. Yeah.
I mean, I was in Norway watching all these people in these fair jackets and fair hats. Go, what the fuck is the problem? You know?
I actually want to play a little bit of video here at this point of Vinegar Joe, because they were a really kick-ass, raunchy rock and roll band. Very, very forgotten now. Obviously, Robert Palmer went on to greater things and sadly is no longer with us. But this is Vinegar Joe. Yeah, really great little rock and roll band. But you said Robert Palmer. I think you told me Robert Palmer you had a little bit of fun with him back and forward.
Yeah, we always had fun. I mean, if you didn't have fun, what's the point of doing it? I mean, you can't just be like a robot, you know.
But he was always trying to get you to, he said, "That's my go pick up my guitar."
Yeah, no, this is what he'd be like on the side of the stage watching Elkie do her thing. And they look on the floor and he sees Mike, and his mic stands on the floor. And he's looking at me going, "Come on, Wilkie." And I'm like, "What?" So my gig was to run on stage and make sure that Mike was stood up, you know. And I wouldn't do it until the last fucking second. And I'd run up and stick it in his face and look at me. After the show was never brought up, you know.
Yeah.
He would just laugh about it because that's the way it was back then. And nobody would go, "He's an asshole, get rid of him." You know, it's like we just laughed and he knew we were just having a joke. We just, you know.
Yeah, that was the banter is what we would call it. He had the banter.
Because it seems like if people took themselves too seriously, they wouldn't stick around, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the first actual gig I did with Vinegar Joe, Average White Band in '73. Arnie McIntyre is going, "Come here on stage." And I was shitting myself going, "He wants to go on stage. I'm not doing that." So I finally walked up and I went, "What's the problem?" He goes, "I got a broken string." I went, "What do you want me to do?" He goes, "Fucking fix it." I went, "I don't know how to do that. Fucking put a guitar. You're crazy." So I gave him his other guitar. He came off stage. He just walked to me. He goes, "Do you know how to tune a guitar?" I went, "No." He goes, "I'm going to teach you tomorrow." So he comes in with a strobe tuner and teaches me how to tune the guitars. And it was like, it wasn't like you fired. You know, you talk to me rude or all that shit. We're laughing about it. And next thing I knew, learning the business, I was tuning guitars. You know.
Yeah. So now you've moved up from humping gear and driving shit to technician.
Yeah, I'm now
yeah.
Call you back. I was a drum roadie, and now I'm doing the back line.
Yeah. It's progression. It's career progression. It's awesome. Yeah.
It was total progression. I mean, as I said, loading trucks, unloading trucks, driving trucks, back line, you know. And then when I got to the States, I mean, I did 3 gigs in 3 different countries in one day. And yes, I was on drugs.
No, this was the Average White Band days.
This is the Average White Band in '73. We played the Boat People, which were the first people to come out of Vietnam, and they housed them in. So at midnight, we played like 2 or 3 songs. These poor people. So we cut the set short. We drove 15 hours to Frankfurt, did an afternoon show, And then we got there at 10 o'clock in the end, and that's when I played bumper cars with every car that just parked in my way, trying to get backstage.
So they didn't really set these festivals up, though, thinking that trucks had to get in and out.
Clueless. Absolutely fucking clueless. They hadn't a clue.
But the boat people were polite, but like, what's this rock and roll thing?
Oh, they had no idea. And we knew we had a long drive to go, so we just cut it short. And, you know, and as I said, when we got on the ferry to go back to England, what did we make? Quid? We had 10, 20 pounds in all between all of us.
I don't know. Is that with you, Wilko? There's a lot of banging going on in the background. It's cutting you out.
No, it's you guys.
Who's got the banging? All right.
Not I.
Sorry, just checking.
Me.
Yeah, but there was another. So Vinegar Joe's Scandinavian tour, and I guess you learnt a lot on that. And you were doing a lot of the driving, the offload, and the unloading. It was the middle of winter. Tour went well, though, I guess.
Oh, it was a brilliant tour. I mean, but I'll be quite honest, I've never seen so much effing snow in my life.
Wow.
And it was winter. It was like 10 feet of snow.
The glamour of rock and roll.
If I had a straw, I would have taken care of some of it, but it was just like, it was mental.
Were the groupies warmly dressed, or
groupies? I never saw groupies. I really didn't. There was no such thing as a groupie back then.
Yeah.
The first time I encountered groupies was in the United States. And it was at the Riot House on Sunset Boulevard. And I did 2 weeks off in Manhattan Beach with the other road crew for the Average White Band. Hamish lost his voice. And I spoke to Bruce McCaskill, the manager. He goes, well, come up. I've got the per diems for you. I've got your money so the guys can drive to the next gig. I walked in, and there must have been 120 chicks there.
Wow.
What band are you with? What band? I was sleeping. Got any coke? And I was fucking shitting myself. I was like, what? I'm like, what is it? And that's what it was like, the Riot House, you know. And all those guys before us, all the big ones, the Deep Purples and the Stones. And, I mean, they had a floor, one floor for Led Zeppelin, one floor for Deep Purple.
Wow.
You know, friend Willie Fife, in that movie, Almost Famous, he was the guy that drove the motorbike down the hallway.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's
I was
right.
going to ask how realistic that movie was.
Yeah, Cameron Crowe should have backed out and just done that one thing, because everything he's done since then, as far as I'm concerned, especially Rowdies, is absolute shite. You know, I mean, he should have just walked away and went, "Thank you, I just take the money." But
so he did a good job on that one.
No, you have J.J. Abrams, the top writer in Hollywood. And I looked at the first season, the first episode, and all the roadies are on stage going, we're in Cleveland, let's do it, ha, ha, ha. And I'm going, if my fucking road crew did that on stage, I'll beat the shit out of it. Get on with your job, you know?
I was talking about Almost Famous. They did a good job with that one.
Yeah, I think they did a great job. You know.
Stillwater, that was the name of the band in that. I think Peter Frampton did some of the music for that.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, yeah. So this is some pictures of you, though, in your prime on tour.
Yeah, that's me. Granny and I lost our, that's in Australia, we lost our per diem, so I got the guitar and I was busking.
You lost your per diem, oh dear.
Yeah, we spent it on beer as usual and drugs, you know, and the gas. And
who were you touring with there, though? Do you remember who you were with?
I haven't got dementia yet. It's getting close. But that was the Average White Band in 70s.
It was with Average White Band, yeah. And then
didn't make much money because I couldn't play.
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, that was in Cincinnati. We were very busy. Everything was going crazy, and actually, my feet were killing me because I just bought a brand new pair of shoes, and not thinking of taking the shoes off and getting a pair of sneakers. I just ran all day. You know, when I was at gigs and I got the band on stage, it was me to kind of calm down and get for the onslaught afterwards. And the onslaught afterwards would be 85% record label people. Let's go out. We're doing this, we're doing that. But you were going 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because remember, in those days, there was no visual. There was no MTV. Everything was done on the radio. So when I put a tour together, that's the day I left in 75. Now look at those bell bottoms.
That's classic.
You know.
And the cardigan.
Oh, the cardigan.
Bell bottoms are coming back.
Well, I hope so. Still got that cardigan somewhere.
And this was your first time, just before you left for the States for the first time, yeah?
Yeah, that's where we all lived in McLeese Road in Olympia. And
That's cool.
there's another photograph of me face on. Oh, that's Granny and I getting completely delirious. There's the round right there.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, you see the hat I've got on?
Yeah.
Little trilby.
Yes.
So we came running out of a pub, the 100 Flower, which I mentioned. And I went, Granny, I'm just going to run down to the other pub. So I'm running, and all of a sudden, I've got these cops running next to me. I'm going, is this a Monty Python fucking sketch or what? So I like stopped, and they all stopped. And there's like four of them. They looked at me and went, what's your problem? They're going, you're Irish. I went, where do you get that from? Well, they got a funny accent. I'm a fucking Geordie.
That's so London, though, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, it's very. And they were like, "What, you wearing a trilby?" I went, "Oh, so I'm an Irish fucking bomber." and I just told them all to fuck off. And it was like you can't do that to us. I said, "I just did. Fuck off. I'm going in the pub if you want."
Yeah. So.
I stopped wearing my trilby. I couldn't fucking wear it, you know.
Yeah. So this is the boys you were working with, though, the Average White Band.
Yeah.
I actually want to play another little clip, if that's okay with everybody, of the Average White Band in their prime. This is the Average White Band appearing on Soul Train.
Oh my God!
White band,
the first in the day.
The first white band ever to play on Soul Train. First Scottish band to play on Soul Train.
Yes. Yeah!
And you were there that day, mate.
No, they wouldn't get on stage without me.
Cut the cake, give me a little piece, lick up the cream. Cut the cake, I want a little piece, baby, you know what I mean. Cut the cake, give me a little piece.
Funky band. I mean, you've seen them up close so many times, Wilko. Tight and funky.
I mean, this when we left it, we were doing theater pubs and shit, you know. And then all of a sudden, we're in front of 20,000 people, and we're all African American, black, whatever you want to say this day. They'd be looking on stage, going, "Motherfuckers are white,"
right?
But they had no idea because they were listening to the radio.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They had no connection with it at all, and I was just freaked out. I mean,
and because Pick Up the Pieces is now a stone cold classic, sampled by dozens of rap artists.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cut the cake, don't you know that I can't get enough? Cut the cake, don't you see that I made a greedy man?
I'll just pause it there in case we get any issues, but with YouTube. But that was Soul Train, and that must have been a hell of a day. I mean, now that wasn't there was another gig later. I think it was the Hollywood Bowl where you had some of the cream of the crop behind in the green room.
Oh, there's my parrots. There's my parrots. It was the Palladium on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, it was the Palladium, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll never, ever forget all the gigs I've done. My backstage was Marvin Gaye, Teddy Pendergrass, Luther, Joe Cocker, Greg when he was married to Cher.
Greg Allman, yeah.
All of the Atlantic reps were in this little cul-de-sac backstage. And finally, you know, I didn't give a shit. Finally, I was like, okay, everybody, you got 15 minutes before you go on stage. So I sent them all to the green room, you know. And then all of a sudden, the dressing room door opens and it's Molly Duncan, God bless him. And he goes, "Wilko! No vodka! no saxophone player, and slammed
It's in the rider.
Oh no, it was the Atlantic Record, but he drank the alcohol. You know, I mean, I sent Greg and Cher home because he was just bouncing off walls. But I get him on stage, and that's time for me to just unwind for about 20 minutes. So I'm on stage, I'm looking at Hamish, I'm like, what am I thinking? We finished with I Headed Through the Grapevine. And I think Hamish had the same vibe. We looked at each other and I went, I'll be right back. So I went to the green room, and Marvin's going, what do you want? I went, really important, somebody backstage from Atlantic. And he goes, okay. So we get him backstage, and as soon as he's backstage, he was like, dan, 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 dan. He looked at me and he went, what are you doing to me? And I pushed him on stage.
Marvin Gaye. Yeah.
And it was like, it was totally sold out over the rim. And it was like, boom. And it's bouncing off the walls of the people screaming and roaring. It went on for about 3 minutes. It was like, boom, boom. And it did, and you some photograph. Oh, there's a photograph right there. And it was just monumental for me, an AWB guy, but also Marvin Gaye on stage with him. It was fantastic. I mean, to live through that, to tell a story, you know.
Oh, it's incredible, mate.
That's
Absolutely
Ebony
incredible.
and Ivory way before Mike and Paul.
That's right.
No doubt. Yeah.
Don't mention that record in my presence ever again, Joe.
Well,
I'm a big Paul McCartney fan, but don't ever mention that record again. Actually, we don't have that particular clip, but I do have Hamish and Average White Band singing "Walk On By." Not heard at the Grapevine, but I just want everyone to hear Hamish's voice. He went on to play with Paul McCartney for many years, funnily enough, Hamish Stewart. But listen to this, and if I can get it to play.
Tears and the sadness you get when you say goodbye. Walk on by, baby. Walk on by.
Yeah, just beautiful, beautiful falsetto. Hamish is a brilliant musician. Luckily still with us. Plays with Ringo Starr a lot now. Beautiful clip. But that's, I guess, to see that Marvin Gaye on stage doing a Heard of the... That must have been something else.
You saw that question by your Muslim uncle.
Yeah, I want to go back to that question, Wilko, that our great friend, your Muslim uncle, great supporter of the show and a wonderful gentleman. I'd love to hear what Mr. Wilkinson thinks about how the complexity of music has changed. When I listen to this and other music from the 70s, it sounds so rich and full, and modern music so empty.
Well,
what do you think, mate?
Well, I think from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and also the 60s, it was a band. There was no samples. I think the word sample is used by certain people out there. That's how their music is. It's not my music. It's not music. It's like, I can't listen to it at all. I got brought up and fortunate enough to look at a band. He plays bass, he plays guitar, he plays rhythm, he's keyboard, he's drum, and he's a singer. You know?
Yeah.
And every band in the 70s I was with in the 80s and 90s, I was going on tour with a band. And the technology, not to knock it at all. I mean, God bless it, but I just don't understand it. I listen to all these samples. Even my son, when he gets in my car, I'll put one of my tapes on, and he's like, wow, that's really good. I went, yeah, it's a band. It's a band. I don't listen to and how they put things together. And I made them watch everything the Beatles did. You know, the Let It Be, that documentary, and there's one with George Martin, and all the rolls of tape. And they were like, what is that? It's like, well, first of all, as well, that was in mono. It wasn't in, you know, I think that's how you made things and chopped it up and cut things and put it together. That's how you make an album. You
They
know?
were doing it with like 2 tracks. They weren't using 64 tracks. They were using like 2 or 4 tracks.
Yeah, but they had tape everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just nonstop. I mean, I was looking at it going, how much fucking tape are these guys got? It was, I mean, George Martin did one hell of a job, but, you talk about the Beatles. I mean, come on. I mean, to me, the best band ever, Nothing to take away from anybody else, but, I think they brought in when they brought in the strings and all the things they were bringing to the table was just incredible. We were fortunate enough to see it,
Because so the Beatles being live and like their issues playing live in the early days with the sound, where you would go see the Beatles and all you could hear was the screaming girls. You couldn't even hear the music. That really catapulted like the technology forward, right? And so when you got into the business.
Yeah. When you look at those, the footage on all of those things, they're all stadiums. So they thought they could have the music come through all the little speakers in the stadiums.
Shea Stadium, they used the house PA. Yeah.
And I don't think sound guys, especially TV guys and whatever, had the capability of doing that. So if you look on stage, it was like a little fucking monitor system. That was their PA.
Yeah.
It wasn't thought of like, he's 70,000 people. They had no equipment to do it. And
I had a supervisor that got to see the Beatles when they played Indianapolis back in the 60s, and she told me, all you could hear was girls screaming and smell pee.
And smell pee.
And pee.
Because nobody's going to the bathroom, right?
Story of my life.
Yeah,
I just wanted to thank your Muslim uncle who donated $5 Canadian. Thank you, sir. And he was just talking about the comment he typed in about the question he just asked. But thank you, your Muslim uncle, for that. Yeah. So the sound, you must have seen a massive difference, even in the early 70s. Massive leaps forward in equipment.
What was funny was, as I said, I was on tour with the Average One all through the 70s. And I remember coming home, I had 3 or 4 days off, and Barbara, my wife at the time, picked me up and she had tickets for Pink Floyd at the Madison Square Garden. And I went in, and that was my like, holy fucking shit, what is this? And they were doing The Wall, and it was unbelievable. I mean, I was like, okay, I didn't need that. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't part of that. The guys got on stage. That's what the Average White Band was. They would just play I mean, if you talk to them about lights, in fact, I remember in 76, 77 going back to London. And I was like, okay, guys, meeting light. We're like, we're shopping with the wife. Kelly and I were looking. Well, yeah, it was a major tour. But no, when I was in Ronnie James, I saw another.
We're losing you a little bit, Wilko. I know it's a little bit choppy. I don't know. Have you got an AC running or something in the background, or?
No. I'm not too far from an airport.
Okay, we got you now, though. No, we hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that movie Unstoppable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
Well, the guy who was in that movie, all about him, he has the airport over here.
Right.
I remember his name a couple of times. Great
Just
guy.
a small airport. Yeah.
Small airport. They taught all the pilots who land on aircraft to fly here back in the 40s. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comments in the chat around the fact that, we're not saying there isn't good bands now. There's still plenty of great bands. I think what we're saying is that generally music that you can hear on Spotify or TV, whatever you hear now, the pop hits or the whatever they call it now, they're overproduced to fuck, in my opinion. Like they've got so much technology and so much manipulation that they may be a damn sight louder than shit we heard in the early 70s, but they're not any better. It's overproduced garbage, in my opinion, a lot of it. There's still plenty of great bands playing in clubs and wherever, but the general standard of produced music is the more tracks, the worse it got in many ways, you know. So, no, we wouldn't deny there's still a lot of great bands out there. I just wanted to also show, though, some of your memorabilia that hopefully you still have. Hopefully,
I did get that one. I got all my albums stolen from this wanker from Connecticut.
Yeah. Have you still got this one? This is a gold record that was given to you for Cut the Cake.
Yeah. I had about 8 albums.
That's very cool.
Gold or platinum. You know, back in the 70s, it was pretty tough to get a gold album. You know, the platinum was it. You know, if you got a platinum, you were big time.
Yeah.
This day and age, you get 3 platinums, and it's what it is. You know.
Yeah, they play them 10 times on Spotify, and they get a gold record for it. Yeah. And then you also got this, though, which is an interesting one for me, which the 1979 Average White Band tour of the UK. This is the Edinburgh Odeon Theatres, and it's a plaque commemorating a sold-out gig. I like this because some of my earliest gigs were at the Odeon Theatre in Edinburgh. And obviously being a Scottish band, that was they were from Dunfermline over the River Forth.
How big is that room, Brian?
About 3,000 seater in its day, the Odeon, I think.
Sounds like the municipal auditorium here.
Yeah. Great place for gigs. They ended up chopping it up into multiple screens as a cinema, and then the building fell into disrepair and got closed. It looked like this back in the day. Look at that movie, Escape from New York. I actually may well have been in. I did see it there. I don't think I'm in that lineup, but I did see Escape from New York there. So. But that's the kind of places that we'd be play. But being a hometown gig for the Average White Band, I guess there was a lot of excitement around that one, Wilko.
Oh no, Scotland was fantastic. You know, the parents would come. All the parents were fantastic. I remember. And we also, I told you last time we spoke, we stayed in Dalhousie Castle for a week. And that was the funniest thing.
Yeah, well, again, you mentioned Dalhousie Castle, and that I grew up like 3 miles from that place. So to hear you talking about it was quite interesting.
Yeah, I get Granny to send you photographs.
So you booked that place when it just opened for
hiring. But we were staying at, I can't remember the names of all these hotels, there was too many. And everybody was calling the agency and the record label. And I'm looking down and I went, they had 10 rooms. That was it. Now they got 135. And I went, let's go and stay in the fucking castle. It's the same money. So we did. And then when we checked in, the guy was like, oh, we'll find you a rock and roll band. I wouldn't let you stay at my place. This is for executives. And I just looked at him and I went, how many rooms you got? He goes, 10. How many am I renting? He goes, 10. I went, are you fucking stupid? Come on.
That's right. You're filling the place.
The thing was, after 2 days, he goes, hey, Wilko, here's the keys to the bar lock.
Yeah, he couldn't keep up with you.
I'll lock up all right.
Yeah, it's a castle that, for everyone's benefit out there, it's a castle that they turned into a hotel and conference room. It's a pretty swish place. You can get weddings there and all sorts. But I've been there many times, so it's kind of not on that night though. Although I was about 16 then. I might have managed to sneak in. You never know.
They have so many cool castles over there.
Oh yeah, we got loads of castles, but you can't move without falling over a castle in the UK.
We did with.
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit again, Wilko. Sorry, it gets a bit choppy occasionally. I don't know why. But,
no, you know what?
You sound like Max Headroom.
It must be the time of day this plane's going.
Yeah, there's. I don't know if the phone was a little closer to you, might help, but.
Oh, maybe I can come closer. Oh.
Yeah, it's. I think it's some kind of filter that's stopping your voice from cutting out. There you go. You're beautiful.
How about that, Jimmy?
Brilliant. You're beautiful.
Look at that handsome man.
I know. You're so handsome. So, a lot of great stuff there. There's and something I wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about on the show on Tuesday, which was long before BB King got a lot of buzz for putting a gig on at Sing Sing Prison, you did it first.
Well, I don't know if I did it first, but I did Sing Sing Prison with the inmates. And it was one of my in-between Allman Brothers tours. And I got called to do it. It was like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And there's my little plaque signed. And Warner Brothers comes to me. And I'm like, why would I want to go into a prison? I mean, have you got enough security? Have you worked all this out? And they're like, you're going to go to prison. There's cops everywhere. I'm going, it doesn't mean you're going to get a riot, because you could have a riot, But anyway, we actually did it. They showed us the first cell, which was ridiculous. I mean, couldn't believe 2 people in this cell. And we did the show. There's a couple of girls in very short dresses. I took them back to the cars and stuff and said, don't come in. I don't want to, it was too risky for me at that time. And then we were supposed to go to Buffalo the next couple of days. And the guys I was working with were all inmates. So I was talking to the inmates in Sing Sing. I went, what's going on with Buffalo? He goes, oh, you'll see it on TV tomorrow.
And this is the band that you did it with. The Inmates was the name of the band, which is
that's the album we were supporting, So
I thought he meant the actual inmates of the.
I get one of their albums here. The Inmates.
Yeah.
I actually don't know this band.
Well, the Inmates were what I would call pub rock, Wilko, would you agree? There was a whole pub rock movement, like Kilburn and the High Roads, Ian Dury, and Hatfield in the North, and Dr. Feelgood even. These were pub rock bands, they called them. And the Inmates were prime exponents, kind of blues rock stuff, but played in clubs and pubs.
Yeah.
And so was it your idea? Whose idea was it to do that gig at Sing Sing?
Warner Brothers promotion.
Right.
And, it can't work because first time in America, I mean, they were doing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. I mean, they filled the places up. And as I said, it was like 3 weeks. I was like in between Allman Brothers and somebody else. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. But to finish the story about working with inmates, the inmate inside the prison said, you're going to see it on the news the next couple of days. Why are you not doing Buffalo? And I don't know if any of you guys remember, all the inmates broke out of the cells in Buffalo and all the roof throwing slates and shit at all the cops. They took over the prison.
Wow.
We were going to play there that day they took over.
Yeah. So when you played, did you play in was it like the scene in the Blues Brothers where they're playing in the mess hall in the jail, or?
It was in the mess hall and it was dark, which I didn't like. And I was just watching the band. The Warner Brothers people, they were coming back and forth, and I was like, "Look, guys, you're on your own. I'm watching the band. I don't. I mean, you're also with African Americans who didn't give a shit. They just want to get out the cell. They were just looking, going, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah. So, what was the reception like? Was there?
People were there. People were standing up. People were leaving. 10 people would leave, 20 would come. They look at the band. They're Americans. They didn't understand what this was.
It was a British R&B band, yeah.
Yeah, and basically they were just getting out of the cells. That's all it was for them.
Yeah, I've actually got a clip of them on that tour. You did a US tour with them in 1980, and this is one of the. It's not from Sing Sing, but we do have a little clip just to show you guys what this band were all about.
Yeah.
So you tour managed road managed that tour for those guys.
I was the TM.
Yeah, I remember them well. As I say, I've got that album. I never saw them live though. But so you took that to Sing Sing, and I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, doing a prison. I mean, Sing Sing. I mean, as I said, when it told me, first thing was security.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then, as I said, two of the girls turned up in miniskirt. Like, what are you doing? Trying to create a riot or something? But
there's definitely going to be a riot then.
yeah, I mean, come on, let's think, girls, But it went off very smoothly. All the guys I worked with, the inmates inside the prison were very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really weird because they were wearing suits, and it never clicked until we were shaking hands and all that. And then they came back and they had the reds on, And I'm like, oh, they went, oh yeah, you worked with us, but we're actually serving time.
Okay, so you didn't know that at the time.
Oh no, it's like, oh okay, I thought you were the management,
But, I mean, it is interesting because I did mention the BB King thing. I think in 2005 he did a gig at Sing Sing, and there's tons of information about that online. Nothing about the inmates playing there.
Right.
So everyone gets it's BB King first time at Sing. No, there was bands played there before.
So did it in 2005?
He did his in 2005. Yeah, you guys were doing it in 1980. So.
Oh yeah, we knew what we were doing. You see, the all was.
So you were post-average white band at that point, though. Really, you'd moved on to other.
We moved on. Christmas of '79, January 1980. I'd been with him for 9 years, and I'm sitting on the farm, smoking a doobie as you do, going, well, I guess how do you go and get a job in this industry? And the phone went, and it was a good friend of mine, Don Boo, who actually I hired for me with the Average White Band. And he goes, hey, Wilkie, what you doing? I said, oh, well, the Average Whites and I split up. He goes, what? Oh, that's good. Do you want to work for the Allman Brothers? Oh, yeah, sure. Off we went, And my career just took off after that. I mean, I was busy.
So you came on board with the Allmans, I think this is about 1980, 81, and you were doing more the money. Yeah, you did the money side of it, yeah.
That was the money. I mean, I worked with Don very closely. We were very close friends. We still are. He lives in Riverside, California. I always talk to him. He had a big time on his hands. He was taking care of the guys. It was pretty tough back then. Dick's all over the place. Greg was in and out of rehab.
Right, still a lot of substance issues. I know they kind of reformed every 2 weeks in this period.
Yeah.
Were you actually out on the road with them most of that time, or you were?
Oh, I was with them 2.5 years, non-stop.
But yeah, you went, although you were doing the money side. So I mean, doing the money could mean a lot of things. So were you actually picking up cash at the end of the night from promoters or theaters, or was it more just counting?
Yeah, no, I was paying all the hotels, payroll, per diem, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, whatever's needed, And then I put a stop to a lot of it, I was like, look, guys, this is fucking ridiculous. And then Don Boo went on off the rails for about a year or so. I took over tour management and tour accountants. I was doing both.
Yeah.
And then in late 82, John Scher took over. And I'm going to say it, the guy was a wanker. And he was a big promoter out of New Jersey. And he was the dipshit that you saw on the last Woodstock thing that was set fire on Woodstock.
Oh, right. That was the bad one. Yeah.
That was the bad one. But you know what? That was John Scher all the way through. So he took over the Allman Brothers. He cut my paycheck in half. So I went, go ahead and do it yourself. And the band lasted 6 months with him, and I told them to take a hike,
Yeah. I've got a little clip of them here from the 1980 tour. I think it might have been over in Europe.
Yeah.
I think you did Europe with them too. So let's just see what they looked like in that era. If that's okay.
That was the band. That was the album. I love.
Sorry, mate. Yeah.
James Controller, there it is. He was the guitar
Dickie
player.
was still on top form as a guitar player, though. Even
Dickie's a fantastic, excellent guitar. Excellent. I mean, the mixture of these bands just materialized. It was just so good on stage.
yeah.
And I've got some funny
playing.
stories about it. well. I mean,
So
fun
yeah,
stuff.
tell us some funny stories then.
Well, I always involved my parents. Always have done, always will do. God bless them both. And 1980, when I took them over to England, my Barbara, my first wife, I always took cartons of Marlboro over to England. So I got it to England, opened up the cartons, and there was a letter from Barbara saying, "Third pack in." And I opened the third pack in, and they were full of joints. So, of course, I went ballistic with the road crew before they got on the flight. Anything you have, take now, because if you get busted, you're on your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, they're here. We might as well smoke them. So we smoked.
Get rid of the evidence. Get rid
Yeah,
of the evidence.
well, we did like 4 dates, but we based ourselves in London. And this night, because I was the accountant and I didn't have to be around the band, I took my mom, dad, and my 2 sisters out. And there's a saying: if you're looking for an English road crew, where are you going to find them? In a pub.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for an American road crew, where are you going to find them? In somebody's room doing drugs. So anyway, off you go, driving home, half pissed with my mum and dad. And my mum looks up, and there's a pack of Marlboro on the dash. She's got to be in her 60s. She goes, "You don't smoke cigarettes." And I went, "Yeah, I know." So she opened them up and she goes, "Are these those funny cigarettes?" I went, "Yeah, they are, Mum." She goes, "Oh, we've got to try one of these, dog." So she pulls out a joint and lights it up. So here I am now driving down Marylebone Road in London, having a joint with my mum and dad and my sisters. It was fantastic, It's what you did back then, I guess.
Yeah. When you were with the Allmans, was Greg still married to Cher or going out with Cher? No, that was over by then. Yeah.
All done. He was with a young lady called Julie, and I did meet her daughter last time I called Greg 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But
cool. It must have been a nice trek, though. It must have been a nice time. Great man.
He's another funny one. Bill, who knows Bill Graham? Everybody knows Bill.
Bill Graham, yeah.
So we're backstage at Fillmore West, and we all just did a sound check. He walks in, he puts something on the table, and all the road crew are there. We're just eating whatever we're eating, and we're all talking. I was talking to Bill because him and I were going to do the box office and stuff, and he turns around, he looks on the table, he goes, "Wilko, where'd the cookies go?" I went, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I just put a plate of cookies down there." I'm like, "You're fucking kidding me." It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So all the band and the road crew was stoned out of there.
I knew exactly where that was going.
Right. And we were like 2 hours before the set, and Dickie Betts played for about an hour. And the rest of the band hadn't even got on stage. And we were just looking at each other. It was only Bill and I straight. We were just laughing, going, "Okay, you can go, Greg, you can do a solo now. Go on." And then nobody left. Nobody left. We didn't care. It was fantastic.
I think we could probably do an entire show about people like Bill Graham and Harvey Goldsmith and other major promoters. Because you must have dealt with these guys every day.
Yeah. I mean, but, back to Marvin Gaye, the funny one is, if you read the Ronnie Wood book, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, I was talking to Marvin Gaye all night long." The next day, Mick Jagger goes, "You were talking to his brother, Frank." And Ronnie was like, "What?" So I used to hang out with Frankie Gaye. And we'd go out. He looked exactly like Marvin Gaye. So he'd have the little hat on, and we'd sit there, and the chicks would come up and go, "Can we get his autograph?" I mean, he's sitting there, ask him, I don't care. So we'd get his autograph, then he'll come back and go, "He signed Frankie Gaye." I went, "Yes, he would, because it's his name."
That's his name.
And we used to just have lots of laughs with that one, Take it down
awesome.
to Duran's, the Irish pubs and stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff, it was just English humor on tour, hanging out with all these incredible musicians. I mean, I remember picking up Phil Lynott, and we laughed about it afterwards. They were supporting Queen, the Madison Square Garden. What year was it? 78. I don't know. One of those.
I mean, 78, 79, yeah.
Yeah. And
Speaking of,
I stayed at the Mayflower Hotel. That was the hotel that everybody stayed at. I think Atlantic Records was buying it or they bought it. So I jump in the limo and I'm all happy and I smoked a joint. I was at work and I smoked a joint. I get to the airport and he's all the band arriving and I went, okay, Phil, get in the car. So he gets in the car with his guitar and his case and we just drive off. And about 12 minutes later, I'm going, where's the band? I'm not the tour manager of the band. I was supposed to bring the band. You're like, fuck the band, you know. But I just took him down to Madison Square Garden and Gary Moore and all the band came. Like, Wilko, I'm going, sorry guys, wasn't even thinking, you know.
yeah. So you
So
knew
that was-
these guys. These guys. This is Skid Row, not the American Skid Row, the
Yeah.
Irish Skid Row, with Phil Lynott sitting on the ground and Gary Moore standing next to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I met Gary before Phil Lynott with
Yeah.
Skid Row, and there's a three-piece band.
That's them there, yeah.
There they are, and they were just absolutely great guys. Gary was always shy. He was always like, you know, sitting back in the corner and just playing his guitar and stuff. And of course, I'd be like, "Yeah, come on, mate, let's go and have some party," you know. And I'll never forget it. They did a gig, like 6 bands on playing.
Hmm.
And of course, how long do we have to go? Because my battery's going.
Oh, right. Well, we'll start to wrap in a few minutes if your battery's going.
Wait. I want to hear about Killing Joke so bad.
Well, we'll do Killing Joke. We might not
No,
even
I'm
get...
just gonna. I'm just
so we
gonna.
may not get to Meatloaf, Dio, and Foreigner. We'll have to do it next time.
Yeah, no, let me just. It'll take me 2 minutes to run a plug.
Yeah, anyway, just while you're doing that, this is the Irish band Skid Row, not the American one.
Oh,
Early Irish, one of the first Irish rock bands to really make headway. Phil Lynott had been in the band as the vocalist, and then for whatever reason they threw him out. But as a parting gift to him, when they ejected him from the band, the bass player gave him his bass, and so he went and learned bass so he could get in another band, and that hence Thin Lizzy. And then the early Thin Lizzy, of course. Well, there's the Gary, one of the Gary Moore versions, of course.
Right.
But Wilko was telling me yesterday that he Phil Lynott was in the Speakeasy all the time, and in fact that's where they played their first gig. So he was always bumping into him, always with a beer in his hand, of course. But I have a quiz question for everybody. Oh, there's a great picture of Phil Lynott with the bass. I mean, yeah, miss him. Miss that guy. Who is the guy on the left?
I can't see it yet. Oh.
Okay, I'm back. I'll be plugging in.
Name that guy on the left with Phil Lynott. This is today's quiz question.
Shit, I know who that is too. I'm just blanking on his name.
Oh, you'll kick yourself when you figure
I
it
will.
out.
I know who he
Huey
is.
Lewis?
Huey Lewis.
Is that-
Yes, D. Bird Martin wins. It's Huey Lewis.
Wow.
I thought that was
is
him, but I
was
wasn't
not
sure.
going with that. I wasn't
Wow.
going with that.
Huey
The
Lewis.
comics division.
Believe
See, I
it
just
or
remember him with his haircut looking like the All-American boy. Yeah.
That's news to me.
Wow.
It's
But-
70s
but
and
it
his
is him.
hairpiece.
Yeah, that's right. So, believe it or not, Huey Lewis and Phil Lynott were big buddies. Because Huey Lewis's band Clover went over to Britain in the 70s and ended up playing at the Speakeasy. You know, he backed Phil Lynott on some of his solo stuff and helped him write some of his solo material, played harp on it. And they were always hanging out. They were big buddies. So, who knew, eh?
That's cool.
Look at this,
That's a
his
cool,
smile
cool-
on the right. That's a great picture.
Yeah, it's a very cool picture. I don't know if Wilko ever met Huey Lewis in his British days when he was hanging out in Britain.
No, I never met Huey.
Yeah, but he was a big pal of Phil Lynnott's apparently. So
You know,
Um,
Phil was friends with everybody, mate. He was with the dog's bollocks, as we say.
did he enjoy a pint of this stuff?
Oh, I loved it. Loved it.
Newcastle Brown Ale, lethal stuff.
Delicious.
I enjoy it quite a bit.
So let me just rewind. We'll come back to Meatloaf in a minute. So yes, so especially for Courtney, particularly, although I do like their early stuff with Youth, particularly when he was still on the bass.
Yeah.
Killing Joke. How did you get into the Killing Joke gig? Wilko?
Look at that flyer.
Well, you know what it is if you know Wilko, you know that I always keep in touch with everybody. And in fact, 2 days ago, I called a guy called Tex, which was a really good friend of mine. I lost contact since I've been here 48 years, and all of a sudden found him on Facebook 2 days ago. He worked for the management company for Killing Joke, and he called me in the States from England and was like, it was really funny because I had like same thing. I had about 2 months off, and I'm sitting around going, "Oh, I'm at the farm." I was living in the farm at the time, and he goes, "We want to do this band called Killing Joke." I went, "Yeah, okay." And he goes, "Okay, call this the agent." Oh, I forgot his name. So I called the agency, and next thing I know, I'm on tour with Killing Joke, which was like, what a fucking eye opener that was.
Yeah, so completely
Well, yeah,
different.
didn't they do their first show with like the Ruts and the Spectre? Were you with them from the beginning, or?
All I know is it was the first American tour.
I think it was later than that, Courtney. I think it was 1982-ish.
82, 83.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, because the Killing Joke were going from like 77 or something, 78. Yeah,
78, I think they started.
Yeah, and well, just for those who've never seen them, and I, as I say, I like the early stuff with Youth. I think by this time Youth might have been out of the band.
Yeah, Youth was with him.
Yeah, and he went on to work with Paul McCartney amongst other people, and he's a great producer. But I have a little clip of them, a video, and it's worth watching because it's just such a weird little clip. This is them on Top of the Pops.
Wow.
Doing
Top of the Pops, really?
Doing Empire Song. I mean, it's the most unlikely Top of the Pops appearance you'll get. Great singing drummer.
Oh.
They were like the precursor for like industrial stuff and everything.
So, tell us a bit about that relationship then, Wilko. I mean, were they a good bunch of guys to work with, or?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, Tex brought them out from England, and I met him in New York. I was living in New York at the time. And you just know as a tour manager, I never pushed the buttons. I let them push the buttons until I said enough's enough. Or if it not, it didn't even come out. I mean, we just got on as fucking having a good time. I gave them anything they wanted. I did all the driving. I took good care of them. And they were just fantastic guys. I mean, it took me about 5 shows to get into the music. And I'm going, now I'm listening to it. You know what I mean? But the first couple of shows, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Not the Allman
They were
Brothers.
that was really different for back then. Like,
it was totally different. But it was like, I really enjoyed it. It was like, jazz, just getting up there and painting his face. And yet again, we're doing all these raunchy bars. I mean, I remember a guy just throwing beer on Geordie, and he looked at me, and I just gave him the look. I've got this guy, and he just went like that, and the guy's face was right by the stage, and Geordie just walked up and just kicked him right in the face.
That's amazing. I like hearing these stories.
That's really neat. Yeah, I mean, it must have been a bit of a different. It's completely different from the Allman Brothers in style.
Well,
that's for sure.
You got a different audience, and these people just don't get what problems they can create by dousing musicians with fucking water and beer when they're not playing.
And
Yeah,
electricity,
it was the punk crowd, though.
Yeah,
the punk crowd that thought,
But we don't discriminate about music here. We play all types.
What kind of music do you usually have here?
Oh, we got both kinds. We got country and western.
So we play it all here.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but you know what? It's like there's certain things you do and you don't do on my shows.
Yeah. I mean, was violence, well, I'll say violence, over enthusiastic crowds a problem at gigs?
On Killing Joke and Replacements, yes.
Yeah.
On everything
I
else.
can do that.
Yeah. I mean, it creates problems, you know. But it's like, I remember this chick, we had to take her backstage. She was just so out of it. And I got the medics and everything else, and we finally put her in the closet for a minute. And then she came out naked, you know, and I'm going, please, I just had my lunch. Will you please do something here? But, you know, it was like babysitting, and a lot of them, they were so out of it. It was like Killing Jokes was a bit different than Replacements. The Replacements, they were mental. But I got into all of that. I got into the heaviness of the, you know, and people would look at us on stage, and from the audience on stage, and like pointing at me and the other roadies, I've got to get you, you motherfucker, and all that stuff. You know?
Wow.
But, it was sad, but it's great. I mean, I never really had a problem. I could look after myself, and my main thing was making sure the band were taken care of.
Yeah,
You know?
and I think it must have been kind of neat to have that variety, though, to go from 1 minute to a sort of big southern rock band, the next minute to an alternative new wave, and just see different sides of the business, different sides of touring. It sounds neat.
Yeah, I got myself in a few different situations. I took a little band out in between the Allman Brothers again called the Fools, and they were from Boston. And I
Oh boy.
What are they called?
Yeah,
What were they
right,
called?
right.
Pope's from Boston. Pope's from Boston.
Yep, I grew up there.
My dad's from there too. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, bloody hell, that's 70.
I lived there for a while.
But you know, I was doing a show in Milwaukee, and a week later, I was going to take the band back to New York, put them on Amtrak, and I was going to go straight back to Milwaukee because the Allman Brothers was coming in, and I just didn't like the attitude of the promoter, and he was just full of shit. I knew it, and we had about $400 to get us back to New York, and we're only getting paid $600. Oh no, we don't have any money. We haven't sold any tickets. And I dragged him outside and went, you see these people? You don't have any people? This is at 4 in the afternoon. We're not going on stage until 10 o'clock. Don't tell me you don't have people. You're going to pay for this, you know? So he was still playing the asshole. Then all of a sudden, his secretary comes up and goes, oh, he's a contract from you, from Steve Masowski. And it was a contract to the same promoter for the Allman Brothers 2 weeks later with a $125,000 price tag, right? So I went, oh, okay, let's play the game. So I went back in and he's like going on. I just put this contract under his face. I went, called Steve Masowski. Was I Wilkie? I went, having a problem with this promoter in Milwaukee right now. And I think we're going to have lots of problems with him before we get the Allman Brothers there. And he goes, do you want me to cancel the show? I went, yeah. He goes, okay. Puts the phone down. The guy looks at me. I went, you want to give me the money? He gave me $600 cash right there and then. And then 2 weeks later, we did the big concert. It was the Sheds. I don't know if you know what the Sheds are. They were nicknamed the Sheds. They were just big open air concerts.
Yeah, you get them all over the place.
Yeah, they're all over the place. You know, and I walked out of the box office. I said, Steve, I told you he was going to fuck you, and you could deal with the box office. I've got an overnight drive. See you later. I can't remember his name, but he was a complete wanker. You know? But you pick that up as you learn that stuff as you go along with different bands, and you
learn to read people pretty fast. I take it, Wilko.
Yeah, you know, I just how many times do you think I punched somebody out? You know, I'm fucking hell, take that, you bastard. You know, but you know, it's part of the job with me. It's part of the game.
I just wanted to, sorry to interrupt, just say good night to D-Bud Martin, and thanks for all your modding, D-Bud. I really appreciate it, mate. We'll see you again soon, and thank you.
Thanks, matey.
Yeah, he's a good lad. Yeah, so Killing Joke, but you also, in the early 80s, picked up a gig with a certain large American chap. Texan chap, in fact, and Meatloaf.
He was fantastic.
So,
I mean, he took, you know, yet again, we stayed at the in London at Marmalade, the hotel there. We stayed there for about a week, 7 days, 8 days. And then we had 5 straight days at Wembley. So we were going to Brighton, coming back, Birmingham, coming back, you know, Luton, coming back. my mum and dad were there. And so Meatloaf comes down, and William Morris was looking after Meatloaf. I was looking after the band.
The agency, yeah, William Morris agency. Yeah.
You know, so he goes, Wilko, where's your mum and dad going? He's like horrified. You know, I'm going, well, they've got to go home sometime. You know, I'm the one on tour, not them. And he goes, what's the problem? I said, well, they're getting on. And when the time sound check, they come with us to sound check. And the time you get on stage, they're a bit tired, you know. He goes, okay, you got your own room, and this is my limo. When I get to sound check, the limo will come back for you guys, pick you up. And my mom and dad were like, oh, thanks, Meatloaf. I'm going, fucking hell, mate. You know, come on. Like, you know, so we get all these 5 Wembleys, and the last Wembley gig, he's like, he used to play cards with me, mom and dad. And,
right. Did he win or did they win?
Oh, no, they weren't playing for money. Forget that shit. They were playing for buttons or whatever. But he goes, so Wilko, how are we going to get to Scotland? I'm like, 12 hours on the limo. I said, I've got 14 hours.
See it there, Edinburgh Playhouse after the Wembley gigs. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, Mrs. Wilkinson, how are you getting? She goes, on the train. He looks at me and I went, oh, who's the tour manager here? Mrs. Wilkinson, can you book us some tickets on the train, please?
Yeah, right. You weren't even putting your own mother on the.
But you know what? They played cards all the way to Newcastle, well, to Hartlepool when they got off. And they were coached. So the ticket master was like, are you Meatloaf? He was a young kid. He goes, yeah. So we gave him a T-shirt, so we just upgraded them, you know, didn't charge us. And then when my mom and dad were getting out of the train, he goes, hey, coming up to Scotland. And she goes, oh, I'd love to, but we don't have any tickets. So back in the day, all the bands in the 70s used to get 50 tickets every gig for your friends, family, other band members, whatever, you know.
I thought he said chickens. Sorry. I really did.
Maybe he did.
Tickets.
That's what he got paid.
Was it fried chicken?
Yeah, it was Kentucky Fried Chicken. So he looked at me and he goes, Wilkie, we got 50 tickets. I was like, yeah, give them to your mom. So I did. So my mom arrived at Edinburgh with all my family, nephews and nieces, who I didn't even know, you know. And after the gig, he turned up at the bar and he put down his private credit card and said to the barman, whatever they want, food, alcohol, it's on my card.
Oh,
wow.
Good text.
I was a gentleman. And I didn't know it until I was back last year and I was talking about it. And I should interview my sisters who were at the gig. And then my 2 younger brothers went, oh, yeah, we didn't go to Scotland. We saw you at Birmingham, which obviously I can't remember. And they said, oh, yeah, Meatloaf did the same thing. You know, he gave us a credit card and went, go to the do whatever you want to do, have a good time.
Yeah, so that was this Neverland. This was this tour.
This was the tour. Yeah, I was supposed to do his next one, and he got caught up in the studio. He was doing this, that, and I took something else.
And you ended up getting, because of these Wembley gigs, which, and I think, as you say, he did millions of pounds in business on these gigs. You ended up getting a plaque for
oh yeah, there it is.
£1 million worth of ticket sales on the UK Tour 82. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
wow, nice job.
Yeah, we had big road cases full of T-shirts. I mean, full of Meatloaf stuff that they couldn't sell because it wasn't with whoever the company was, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. All that went back to the States, and I got a couple of cases, you know, but it went back to his warehouse, wherever it went to, you know. But there was so much swag in those days. I mean, if you look on the first outfit I'm wearing the day I left for the States, there's another photograph, and I'll have Granny send it to you. And I'm actually wearing a 1972 Elton John tour watch.
All right.
That my oldest.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and that's worth a lot of money.
The swag.
Well, it was just,
I got some cool shirts from my dad. Go on. Sorry.
But I think he just made about 10 or 20 of them. That was it.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. So I want to show. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just.
I just want to show a little clip of the Wembley because there's a lot of footage of those Wembley gigs that from the plaque here. So I want to show this. And I'm imagining the crowd reception was pretty good at those gigs in Wembley.
Well, I got fired off that stage because everybody who was backstage got a guitar and walked on stage and looked like we were playing guitar. But I walked on with my suit, and Meatloaf went, "You're done." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because I don't want you playing coming tonight. You're off. You're off. I don't want my guitar players walking on with a fucking suit looking like they're accountant. And I was like, because I don't care. You're done. So I got fired off the fucking tour. You know.
Oh dear.
How long we got? How long we got? Because I tell you why.
Yeah, we're probably going to start wrapping up soon. We've got lots of material for show number whenever we do the next one.
Oh no, we got lots of stuff. The reason is I just realized with this storm, everything got cut off back in my backyard. So.
All right, mate. So so I just wanted to say that the lovely Carla DeVito, the backing singer there, did you ever chat to her at all, or?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah,
she's lovely.
She was actually pregnant at the time. She was with her husband. I think he was the guitar player.
I'm glad you qualified that. It's like it was with you.
She was the original singer. She was fantastic.
What did you think of Jim Steinman?
Oh, he wouldn't be there.
No, he's the writer, wasn't he?
He didn't play in the band at all?
No.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but what was funny about the whole thing about playing guitar, I remember this photographer comes up, he goes, and there's like 15, 20 of us on stage playing guitar. The audience didn't know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, "How much for that?" I said, "We should give everybody one." He goes, and it was like ridiculous. It was like, 200 and something quid. I went, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, I was like, "Come on, we'll all buy something from you," but I think it's a bit out of control here, you know. So we didn't do them, but I wish I did, because all of the backstage people were actually on stage playing guitar. And that was the finish of his show, you know. But Meatloaf, great show. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it looked good. Yeah, well, as I say, we've Wilko, mate. We've got so much stuff we haven't even started to talk about. We'll do it in round 3.
I want to do this. We haven't talked about the Phil Lynott, the Marquis, the
Brian Johnsons, the Stevie Nicks, the Linda Ronstadt, the
Linda Ronstadt,
Image Comics, the
comic books,
Festival.
Movies. Yeah.
Let's all do a movie on Rock and Roll Rowdies. This is it.
Yeah. So Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah, I used to do the Cannes Festival. Let's go.
Yeah, there's so much we haven't done, but we will be doing a round 3. This has been awesome, mate. Really appreciate it. We haven't yet even talked about my personal hero, Ronnie James Dio.
He was a superstar. I mean, the guy was absolutely fantastic. Oops. I was going through Heathrow Airport, and I hear, "What you fucking doing, Wilkie?" And it was Phil Lynott. And I went, "Phil, I haven't seen you for 40 years. How you doing, man?" And he's talking, and he goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, Ronnie James is on the other side of the gate waiting for me. We're going into a rehearsals, going on tour." He was like, "I've got to say hi to Ronnie." And I was like, "Okay, let's go." But anyway, he got dragged away. There was about 2,000 women.
Oops, that's foreign.
Oh, man.
That was foreign. Put them all in there, you know. But
there's Jimmy Bain.
Jimmy Bain, loved Jimmy.
Scottish bass player, Thin Lizzy.
Jimmy. I knew Jimmy.
Rainbow.
Yep.
Fucking awesome guy, yeah.
I used to put him to bed every night in his bunk.
Wasted. But yeah,
no, he was fantastic. The whole setup, and see the backdrop. The backdrop's on something else. I'll get to that later. But In the rehearsals, that was the first time I saw a full-on being involved with the full-on production, sound like pyro.
Yeah, I mean,
and
we've got
going
the
things.
clips of that tour, and it's the drummers are up on
Yeah.
the top. It's like the rock wall, and he's up at the top of it, and yeah, it was the whole Holy Diver thing. That was a big production then, as opposed to just the replacements where guys are just walking home with their guitars, you know.
Yeah, no, him and Nico used to have a laugh because we were doing Dio, then we went off on Iron Maiden shows, and him and Nico were like, what do you feel like when you get up there? And both of them were like, we just play. You can't think you're 40 feet, 30 feet going around in a circle. Just like,
Yeah, just before we wrap up, is anybody in the panel got any final questions before we wrap up for today? Well, we'll be round 3. We'll be doing another one.
anytime you want, guys.
Nah.
What you should do is interviewers, and just so you know the dates, 26, 27, 28, 29 of April, we're going to be in the studio in Torquay. And that's where all of us are going to be there, the 4 of us.
So let's
yeah,
talk a little bit about that. So Rock and Roll Rowdies is the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to the guys there. As Wilko said, everything's leading up to him and the Rowdies being together in the UK at the end of April. They'll be together in a studio where we're going to be talking to them there, and that's going to lead to, as Wilko says, they're going to get geared up to try and make this television show and various other things like speaking tours and so on. So at the end of April, there's going to be that. But coming up for the other Rowdies is Thursday morning on Pop Culture Minefield. I'll be hosting Mal Craigs, who's one of the Rowdies. He's, as you can see, he's got a fairly choice selection of bands there. You've got your Genesises and your Pink Floyds, and my personal favourite, The Who, but also Status Quo and Slade, good British bands that never made it in America.
Nazareth, Uriah Heep.
Yeah,
I've seen Heep live. They're fantastic.
Yeah, so there's some good stuff on there. You know, 1 or 2 bands you might have heard of. And then next Monday is the first appearance of Alan Granny Grange. And he's got a bunch of guys. He'll talk about like Wishbone Ash, Average White Band as well. I think he was involved with Wilko.
Yeah, I hired him. Try to get him off the streets, you know.
Yeah, King Crimson, Supertramp, Bad Company, and a bunch of other stuff. And someone joined us, I think. Courtney's back. So that's
a lot.
So those are 2 shows that are in the can. Coming up in the next week, we'll be planning more. Obviously, we're going to have Wilko back, and he's got so many other stuff we didn't get the chance to talk about today to do. That will be awesome. I would like to just invite anyone in the panel who wants to plug anything. Just put your hand up and say, I want to plug something. Pope.
All right. Well, I mean, next time you'll see me, probably it will be Thursday night on my channel for a history of rock and roll from 1955 to 1970. We're probably not going to do all of it in one show, but we'll do what we can. It's going to be me, Sporking News Podcast, and maybe some other familiar faces you've seen around, like maybe on this panel. So, hopefully you guys will join me for that. And then every Sunday you can catch me for Rock and Roll Religion on my channel. I think next up we're going to be doing Wasp. Their first couple of records, so that's going to be a kick-ass.
Yeah, I know the guys very well.
Oh, you know Wasp well, yeah.
That's awesome. I love those guys.
You're welcome to come on any of these other shows, Wilko.
Absolutely, man. Anytime you want to come on.
Yeah. I'll do it as many as you want, but I want to let the guys do some work.
Yeah, but we'll cycle back. Yeah, thanks, Pope. And no, in no way is trying to do the history of rock and roll in one show ambitious.
No, not at all.
I
figure I can get under an hour tops.
I find your lack of ambition disturbing.
Pope, I just got your message. I'll probably join you for that.
Excellent.
Anyone else want to plug anything?
I was just going to say that Wilko and the Rock and Roll Rowdies have a Facebook page too for anybody who actually uses Facebook. I follow that and I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't promote that because I'm not on Facebook, but yeah, Wilko, you've got a page, eh?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got 53 episodes. We got a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff we do. And if I fall out, it's because I'm plugged into a socket that's not working. My phone's got.
But I'll make sure we promote that in the next few shows. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
thanks for mentioning it, Dustin. Yeah.
Yeah, and promote it with you guys too.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be promoting the stuff. And everybody in the chat, before anyone else in the panel gets their final say, I would love to thank everybody for being here. We've had an excellent chat as usual. You're all giving it chat, which is what a chat is for, I think.
We wouldn't be here without that chat.
We
That's
would
right.
not be here. We'd be sitting talking to ourselves, which is fine over a beer. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
We've got to do a beer somewhere.
We will. I've got my Rush beers, my Rush 2112 beers, Wilko. I got to give you one of those. We're going to do it. I don't know if I've got to come over to the UK, but it's going to happen. Once you
Well, I'm working with Cameron's Brewery out of Hartlepool for Rock and Roll Rowdies Brew.
Oh,
They've got
nice.
one, and they've got an Iron Maiden one. And I don't know if you guys know Yannick, from Iron Maiden, but he's from Hartlepool.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, we haven't even touched on the Iron Maiden stuff, and we'll do that next show.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next time.
Please do.
Yeah.
Oh, we still got to get to Linda Ronstadt and the greatest rock band in the world, Foreigner. Yeah, we got a lot more to talk
Joe
about.
and I were planning to do a Foreigner special, supposedly Wednesday night. I don't know, we're still doing it. I haven't got any prep done, but Wilko knows Foreigner quite well. I might want to join.
Back it up another week, man. Take some time with it.
Yeah, we could do a Wilko, and we could bring Lou, Wilko.
I can ring Lou, see what he's doing.
Ring Lou, see if he wants to join us for a Foreigner.
Oh man, you don't want me to pass out on screen, man. Come on.
No pressure or anything.
Well, it's funny. It's like I am an Uber driver. My age is nothing I can do, and I finished weeks. But I picked these couple up about a month ago. It had Foreigner and Lou Graham T-shirts, and I was like, "So where the fuck are you going?" And they went, "Oh, an '80s cruise, man. Lou Graham's playing." I was like, "You're kidding?" They were in front of them. I called Lou Graham, and he didn't pick up. But it was like later on, he texted me. He goes, "I can't believe you're still doing it." I'm going, "Yeah, I was going to park up the Uber and jump on the ship, but they were doing the whole thing,
Nice. Well, yeah, if Lou's ever got a spare hour or two and he wants to chat, let us know.
Let me know when you want to do it.
It was good to see him and Mick get back together.
Oh yeah, the 40th anniversary thing was awesome. Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff next time. Sorry, any last panel promos? Courtney.
Hi everyone. I'm really close to 500, and I'm trying to round the bend there.
You're not that old.
So,
You're not that old.
do you know that in a month I'm going to be 45? I'm freaking out,
shit.
man.
No
I'm freaking
way.
out.
No
I'm freaking
way.
out.
Don't freak
But
out.
we'll have a big birthday party, so.
You're gorgeous though, so don't worry about it.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. You're gorgeous too.
I know, darling. You're simply marvelous.
Oh.
So you're going to do what? Sorry, say that again. I interrupted.
Oh, I just dropped my link in the chat again. I'm just trying to get to 500. I'm like 20 away, I think.
Cool.
So I'm trying to promote on each one, just getting people just a few more each time.
Sub to Courtney and sub to everybody else here.
Not your way.
Support them all. Support them. Let's get everybody up. You gotta get 70s to 1,000.
I'm teetering on the brink of 1,000. I think I'm like
958. Really close.
958 or something. I don't know. It could be.
Make that happen.
Yeah, still 958. This show has not gained me a single subscriber yet.
We'll make that
the
happen.
replays, it goes. We do gangbusters on replay.
You do a lot in replays, bro.
Yeah, we do. But this has been awesome. Wilko, my friend, thank you.
We are not worthy, sir. Thank you.
We are not worthy, but we are
This is
worthy.
awesome.
We will do it again. Don't drop out, Wilko, until after the end credits, because we'll have a quick chat after the studio is still open.
I think his phone died.
Oh, his phone's died.
Finally died.
Well, if you're able to hear us, Wilko,
there he is.
Yeah, don't drop out yet, because once the end credits go, we'll still be in the studio. We'll just say a quick goodbye then. Thank you again, everyone in the chat, for sticking with us. Let everybody know about the upcoming shows with Mal and Granny, and we'll be planning another Wilko one too, and then get some of the guys together for stuff as well. This has been an absolute blast, and so see you all very soon. Keep on rocking.
Keep on keeping on, folks.